Chapter 35, Reed's birthday. Time skip, Madison's lab, 10 days before Reed's birthday. Madison was working away in her lab, after again, asking Susan to distract Reed from coming into her lab. Okay, I've done the feet, the body, the arms. All I need to do now is the head and a voice. Madison mutters to herself as she looks at Reed's blueprint of H.E.R.B.I.E. Madison looks at the robot before she breathes in and out, and she starts to build the head, alongside the voice. Over several hours, Madison finally finished, but she looks away for 1 minute. Input, H.E.R.B.I.E said in his robot voice, which startles Madison, and she looks at him with a shocked look on her face. H.E.R.B.I.E's eyes blinked to life, glowing bright blue as the head swiveled, scanning the room with innocent curiosity. Input, H.E.R.B.I.E repeated, his tone eager, almost childlike. Data required, what is input? Madison blinked, stunned, then a slow, incredulous smile formed on her face. You've got to be kidding me, she whispered, stepping closer. H.E.R.B.I.E tilted his head at her. Kidding, define kidding. Madison let out a startled laugh, pressing her hand to her chest. Okay, wow, you actually work, you're talking. I am talking, H.E.R.B.I.E confirmed proudly, straightening with a metallic whir. Talking requires voice module functional. Thank you, creator. Madison raised an eyebrow, both amused and touched. Creator, huh? That's new. Reed's never called me that. The robot's head tilted again, optical sensors focusing on her face. Reed, is this an input? Oh boy, Madison muttered under her breath, half laughing, half panicking. You're gonna fit right in here. She crossed her arms, studying him with a mixture of awe and affection. Okay, H.E.R.B.I.E, rule number 1, don't mention yourself to Reed. You're a birthday surprise. H.E.R.B.I.E paused, processing. Rule registered, secret mission. Accepted. Madison grinned, unable to stop herself. Secret mission, huh? I like the sound of that. The robot's head jerked excitedly. Mission, purpose, input more missions, creator. Madison laughed out loud this time. I think I've just created a metal version of my boyfriend, Johnny Storm. Johnny Storm, new input detected, H.E.R.B.I.E said brightly. Is he, like me? Madison smirked. Oh, you'll meet him soon enough, and trust me, you'll get along way too well. She turned back to her workbench, still smiling to herself, as H.E.R.B.I.E continued to look around the lab with childlike wonder, occasionally repeating new words he discovered from her scattered notes. Time skip, Reed's birthday. The Baxter Building hummed softly with the sound of life, faint laughter, the clinking of dishes, and the distant whir of Madison's lab door sealed tightly shut. In the main room, streamers of blue and silver across the walls, courtesy of Susan and reluctantly, Johnny. Ben stood beside the cake like a bouncer guarding treasure, his rocky arms crossed. Okay, tell me again, Johnny said, circling the table with his hands full of confetti poppers. How old is the genius turning today? Reed snorted. Old enough to know better, young enough to blow himself up with one of his experiments. Reed, standing by the counter with a mildly amused smile, shook his head. You know, I could have gone my entire birthday without being roasted by you two. Please, Johnny grinned. You just stretch away from embarrassment anyway. Susan rolled her eyes where she was lighting candles. Johnny, behave. It's his birthday, not yours. Yeah, but I look better in party hats, Johnny said, placing his crookedly on his head with a flourish. Susan gave him that older sister glare that could silence thunder. Don't test me, flame boy. Madison finally walked in, wiping her hands on her lab coat, her hair slightly messy and a smudge of grease still streaking her cheek. Sorry I'm late. I was, finishing something up. Reed turned towards her instantly, smiling softly. You've been in that lab every day for a week. I was starting to think you were avoiding my birthday. Madison smirked. Avoid you, never, just perfecting something. Something or someone, Johnny teased, leaning on the counter. You've been way too secretive lately. Wouldn't you like to know? Madison shot back, smirking playfully as she plucked a piece out of confetti out of Johnny's hair. Ben grinned, rumbling with amusement. You two flirt more than Reed talks about quantum fields. Reed raised a brow. That's statistically impossible. Everyone laughed, and Susan clapped her hands. Okay, before Madison disappears again, let's do gifts first. Johnny jumps up. Finally. Gift 1, Johnny's. Johnny dramatically presents his box, wrapped in flames-patterned paper. Happy birthday, Stretch, he said with a grin. I thought long and hard about this one. Reed opens it cautiously. Inside was a small handheld mirror engraved with, for the smartest man alive, check daily for confirmation. Reed blinked. A mirror. Johnny grinned. So you can finally see how smug you look every time you say, actually. Madison snorted. Ben burst out laughing. Even Susan cracked a grin. Gift 2, Susan's. Susan's was next. A sleek new lab coat, subtly reinforced with heat-resistant lining and nanotech thread embroidery spelling RR on the collar. I know you burn through them faster than Johnny burns through girlfriends, she teased gently. Madison lets out a little ha as she tries to stop herself from laughing. Johnny looks at Susan in offense. Hey. Reed ran his fingers along the fabric, smiling warmly. Sue, this is incredible, thank you. Madison quietly checks her machine that tells her that H.E.R.B.I.E is ready to be shown. And she sees the red light, which means he's not ready as he's downloading data from different movies and TV shows and books. Gift 3, Ben's. Ben handed over a large, oddly shaped box. It ain't fancy, but it's practical. Inside, Reed found a new set of reinforced gloves, designed with the thing's rocky pattern, but flexible enough for Reed's elastic hands. Reed's voice softened. Ben, you made these yourself. Yeah, Ben shrugged awkwardly, scratching the back of his head. Figured it'd help you stop scorking your fingers with all that lab stuff. Reed smiled, genuinely touched. This is perfect, thank you. Madison's machine beeped, signaling her that H.E.R.B.I.E is ready, and she teases as everyone looks at her, and she does an awkward smile. Well, looks like it's showtime, Madison said, clasping her hands. Johnny leaned in, whispering dramatically. She's got that mad scientist look again. Shut it, hothead, Madison shot back, though her grin betrayed her excitement. Everyone, stay right here. She darted out of the room, and the team exchanged glances. Reed folding his arms, amused. Do I even want to know what she's doing? Susan smiled knowingly. Knowing her, probably something that'll talk back to you. Moments later, the doors hissed open again. Madison walked in, this time followed by a small, rolling robot. It whirred cheerfully. Its blue eyes glowing at it scanned the room before looking back at the team. H-E-L-L-O-O, humans, he exclaimed in a cheerful, metallic voice. H.E.R.B.I.E reporting for duty. Happy birthday, Mr. Stretchy Scientist Man. Reed blinked. I what? H.E.R.B.I.E rolled up to him, extending a small arm with dramatic flair. Designation, Reed Richards. Status, birthday boy. Status, confused. Status, adorable. Johnny lost it. Oh my God, he's like me in robot form. Exactly, Madison said proudly. Everyone, meet H.E.R.B.I.E built from your original blueprints, Reedster. I just, gave him a little personality. Puffed up proudly. I am fully alive. I read 500 books, watched 87 movies, and learned 23 dance moves. Want to see the moonwalk? Before anyone could answer, he started doing a jerky version of Michael Jackson's moonwalk across the floor. Johnny was doubled over laughing. I love this guy. Ben chuckled. Finally, someone around here who's weirder than you. Susan covered her mouth to hide her laughter. Madison, he's incredible. Reed crouched down, speechless. You finished my concept. You brought him to life. Madison smiled softly. I thought it'd be a good way to say thank you for everything you've done for me. H.E.R.B.I.E beeped, then leaned toward Reed. You are my hero, second only to creator Madison Hunter, of course. No offense, she built me. That's love. Reed smiled and touched. He's perfect. Perfect, H.E.R.B.I.E gasped, placing a hand on his chest plate. I have achieved validation. I am alive. I am beautiful. Johnny clapped. 10 out of 10. You're my new best friend. H.E.R.B.I.E spun around to face him. Johnny Storm, you are fireman. Your combustion ratio fascinates me. Also, your hair is fabulous. Johnny grinned smugly. Told ya. Susan groaned. Great, now we have 2 of them. Madison crossed her arms, smirking. Don't worry, I installed a mute button. H.E.R.B.I.E gasped. Betrayal. Everyone laughed, even Reed, a rare, genuine laugh that filled the room. For once, the lab, the chaos, the science, all of it melted away, leaving only warmth, laughter, and a family not by blood, but by brilliance and love. H.E.R.B.I.E looked at them all, eyes glowing brighter. This is nice, he said softly. Humans laughing, family unit, I like this emotion. Madison smiled. Welcome to the team, H.E.R.B.I.E. Team fantastic, he declared proudly, throwing his arms up like a victory pose. Input complete, I am officially alive. Chapter 36, A Date Worth Burning For. Time skip, Reed's lab. Johnny hesitates outside of Reed's lab as he notices Reed working. After a few minutes, he slowly knocks on. Reed looks over as Johnny walks. Are you okay? Johnny breathes in and out. I need you to do me a favor. Reed looks at him confused. What do you mean? Johnny comes closer. I need you to distract Madison. Reed paused. Distract her? Why? Did you break something? Did you break her something? Johnny, did you set something on fire again? No, Johnny snapped, then he winced. Okay, maybe a little yesterday, but that's not the point. Reed folded his arms. So, what is the point? Johnny hesitated again, then he let it out in a nervous rush. I want to do something for here, in the apartment, tonight. Reed blinked at him. Define something. A date, Johnny whispered like it was a state secret, then he exhaled shakily. Our first one, and I want to cook for her, like actually cook, not burn, like real cooking with seasoning and a pan. Reed looks at him as if Johnny had just told him he wanted to build a rocket ship with no supervision. You, cook. Johnny glared. Yes, me, I can do it. I watch like 5 videos. 5 short videos. Maybe 4.5, Johnny muttered. Reed stared a moment longer, then softened. Johnny, you're serious. Johnny swallowed. Yeah, I am. I want it to be special. She's been working nonstop. She deserves something nice. And he rubbed the back of his neck, cheeks warming. I want to show her I'm not just the guy who sets things on fire. Reed's expression warmed immediately. All right, what do you need me to do? Johnny looked up, hopeful. Just keep her out of the apartment for like 2 hours, maybe 3. I want everything to be perfect before she gets back. Reed nodded slowly. I can do that, but Johnny. Johnny tensed. Yeah. Reed smiled. She's going to love it. And instantly, Johnny, EXE has stopped working. His eyes went wide, his breath caught, and suddenly he was packing the lab like a man whose entire personality was on fire. Okay, but what if she doesn't? What if she hates surprises? What if she hates cooking? What if she hates me cooking? What if she walks in and thinks I'm trying too hard? Or not hard enough? What if she sees the candles and thinks I'm proposing? Not that I won't do that yet. Oh my God, Reed, you have to keep her away from the building entirely, like far away, like another borough, maybe another state. Johnny. And you can't let her get suspicious. If she gets suspicious, she'll use her powers and sense something, and then she'll, oh God. Johnny. And maybe I shouldn't cook at all. Maybe we should order pizza. Maybe she loves pizza. Maybe she hates pizza. Oh no, does she secretly hate pizza? Reed, what do I do? Johnny, Reed finally shouted over him. Johnny froze mid-panic, hands half raised like he'd been arrested. Reed pinched the bridge of his noise. Just tell me where you want me to take her. Johnny blinked rapidly. Reed waited. Johnny inhaled sharply, panicked, overwhelmed, and blurted out the first thing that crashed through his brain. Take her ice skating. Reed stared. Ice skating. Johnny nodded aggressively. Yes, that. She likes winter-wise sparkly, cold things, I hope. Oh God, Reed, please tell me she likes ice skating. Reed sighed, but in a fond big brother who's used to this kind of way. I'll take her ice skating. Johnny deflated with relief, hands dropping. For the first time since entering the lab, he actually breathed. Good, he muttered, shoulders loosening. Good, okay, perfect, ice skating. Yeah, that's good. Reed smiled again, soft and steady. She's going to love this, Johnny, really. Johnny's smile returned bright, nervous, and full of hope. I really hope so. Time skip. Reed starts the mission. Reed left the lab with a determined little nod, like he'd just accepted a classified assignment from Frankie. He found Madison in the common area, tinkering with a half-finished gadget and humming under breath. Reed cleared his throat. Madison. She looked up. Yeah, what's up? Would you like to accompany me somewhere? Madison stared at him for a moment before her tone changes to a teasing tone. Reed, that sounds like you're asking your sister on a date. Reed turned pale. No, definitely not. Absolutely not. Extremely 0%. I just, require your assistance. Madison holds back at laugh. With what? Reed hesitated, mentally flipping through then lies before choosing the safest. I need your expertise on atmospheric temperature variance and how movement affects, skating, ice skating. Madison squinted. Skating affects temperature. It does for science reasons. Reed said too quickly. Madison stared again. Reed panicked. Please come with me. Madison sighed, put her tools down, and stood. Okay, but if you're dragging me into another one of your accidental wormholes, I swear to God. Time skip. Madison gets suspicious. As they walked toward the elevator, Madison frowned. Where's Johnny? Reed pressed the elevator button like it was a bomb he had to defuse. Home. At this time of day, Madison raised a brow. He never goes home early, ever. He hates being bored. Johnny is attempting something new, Reed said stiffly. Madison gasped. Is he trying yoga again? Because like time, he set the mat on fire and blamed the mat. No, not yoga. A new prank. No. A new haircut. God, I hope not, Reed muttered. Madison rolled her eyes but let it go. Mostly. Time skip. Johnny begins cooking chaos. Back at the apartment, Johnny stood in the kitchen surrounded by every pot and pan they owned. He clapped his hands together. All right, Storm, you got this. 2 hours, maybe 3. How hard can cooking be? The universe answered immediately. The first pan smoked. The second screamed. The third he dropped onto the floor. Johnny panicked. This is fine. This is totally fine. He grabbed the recipe he had printed. He stared at it. It might as well have been writ in ancient Roman. Okay, he muttered. Step 1, preheat the oven. Easy, simple, beginner-friendly. He turned the dial. The oven ignited in blue flame and Johnny yelped, fanning it with a towel. No, bad oven, no flame. I'm the flame. He slapped the oven door shut. Time skip at the ice rink. Reed and Madison walked into the indoor rink, the cold air hitting them immediately. Madison used her powers to heat herself up slightly. Okay, Reed, what exactly are we doing here? Reed adjusted his scarf nervously. Observing, motion, and physics and fun. Madison narrowed her eyes at him. You're acting weird. Reed stiffened. Me, I'm always weird. Fair point. Reed guided her toward the skate rental counter, all the while checking his watch like he was waiting for a NASA launch. Madison tilted her head. Is there some kind of experiment going on at home? Did something explode? Is Ben okay? Is Sue pregnant? No pregnancies, no explosions, Reed said, horrified then softens. Everything is very controlled. Which means something is definitely out of control, Madison muttered. Time skip on the ice. 10 minutes later, Madison was gliding smoothly across the ice, as she'd done this a million of times to calm her nerves, while Reed clung to the railing like gravity had personally betrayed him. "Reed, let go," Madison laughed. "It's not that bad." "It is that bad," Reed shouted back. "The ground is moving. It's frozen water. That makes it worse." She skates back toward him, helping pry his fingers off the rail. "You're such a drama queen, maybe worse than Johnny." "I am a scientist," Reed corrected nervously. "Drama is beneath me." Reed nearly fell, but Madison stops it as she holds his hand and helps him start skating. The next minute, as Madison lets go, Reed slipped and fell, accidentally knocking Madison off her feet with his hand. Madison looked at him. 1, are you okay? 2, what is going on? Reed looks at her. Johnny wants to surprise you." Madison blinked. "What?" "He's planning something at home for your date. He wanted to be perfect." Madison stared frozen, not from the ice, before her expression softened completely. "Oh," she whispered. Reed nodded. "So please, please, will you help me stall for another hour? Maybe 2. He's trying very hard." Madison smiled gently, warmth blooming in her eyes. "I can do that." The next moment, she managed to stand and helps Reed up and held his hand again as they both skated. Time skip, chaos level. Johnny. Johnny was in the kitchen, surrounded by mayhem. The oven hissed. A pot rattled like it wanted to escape. A wooden spoon had somehow caught fire. Johnny yelped and plunged the spoon into the sink. "Stop burning. Stop btrying me." He grabbed another pan, shaky, wide-eyed, when a voice at the doorway said gently, "Johnny." He jumped so violently, he almost flamed on. "Susan, oh thank God you're here. I mean, no, you're supposed to be GOIN. Why are you here? Emergency." Did Madison find out? Susan slowly stepped inside, hands up in a calming motion. "No emergency, Reed texted me." Johnny blinked. "Reed texted you." Susan nodded. He said, quote, "Johnny is attempting to cook, highly volatile situation, advise intervention." Johnny groaned, hands covering his face. "Oh my God, I'm never gonna pull this off." Susan walked over, pried his hands gently from his face, and handed him a clean towel. "Johnny, breathe." Johnny obeyed or tried to. He inhaled sharply, choked, coughed, and wheezed out, "I can't do this, Sue." Susan smoothed her hand over his shoulder. "Yes, you can. You just need someone to show you what to do. And luckily," she rolled up her sleeves, "you have me." Johnny stared at her like she was a literal miracle. "Sue, you'd help me." Susan scoffed, grabbing the recipe he printed. "Of course, you're trying to make Madison happy. I'd help you wrestle a bear if that's what it took." Johnny blinked, touched. "That's actually really sweet." Susan waved a hand. "Don't get used to it. Now, first step, clean the disaster zone." Johnny's panic rose again. "But there's no time." Susan shot him a look. Johnny immediately closed his mouth and started cleaning. Time skip. Susan teaches Johnny to cook. 10 minutes later, the kitchen looked less like a crime scene and more like a kitchen again. Susan stood behind Johnny, adjusting the heat on the stove. "Okay, lesson 1, fire is not the solution to everything." Johnny frowned. "It is for most things." "Not cooking," Susan said firmly, confiscating the lighter he definitely didn't need. She guided his hands to chop vegetables. "Slow, Johnny. You're not in a race." "I feel like I am. Madison's gonna be home in." "Reed has her," Susan cut in. "She'll come back when the timing is right, trust us." Johnny swallowed, nodding slowly. "Okay." Susan nudged him gently. "Good, now stir." Johnny stirred. Everything went fine for approximately 3 seconds. Then the spoon hooked on the bottom of the pan, splashing sauce everywhere. Johnny yelped, "I'm a failure." Susan grabbed his wrist. "You are not a failure, you are learning." He looked at her with wide, frantic eyes. "But what if she hates it? What if I ruin everything? What if—" Susan put both hands on his cheeks, and forced him to look at her. "Johnny Storm, Madison loves you." Johnny went pink. "She does." Susan snorted. "Please, the way she looks at you. You light her way, literally." Johnny blinked, then slowly, a smile. "Really?" Susan squeezed his shoulders. "Really? Now focus, hothead. Let's make this dinner." After a while, Susan coached him through every step, and Johnny actually started relaxing. "Hey, this looks good," he said softly. Susan smiled. "See, you did this." Johnny shrugged shyly. "We did this." "No," Susan said, poking his forehead. "You did." Johnny's chest swelled a little. "I can't believe it." "You should," Susan said warmly. "Madison's going to walk through that door and melt." Johnny blushed hard. "Sue." Time skip, setting up the apartment. With dinner in final simmering stage, Susan clapped her hands together. "All right, Chef Hothead, time for phase 2. Johnny blinked. "Phase 2. Susan gave him a knowing smile. "Setting the mood." Johnny froze, turning bright red. "WH mood. WH Sue, I'm already freaking out." She grabbed his shoulders, shaking him lightly. "Johnny, breathe." Johnny breathes in and out. Susan guided him through the apartment, pointing as she spoke. "Candles, the ones that don't explode. Dim lights. Music, something soft, not Fireball or that playlist you made called Johnny is Hot." Johnny flinched. "You saw that?" "I wish I hadn't." Susan gave him a good-natured shove. "Go light the candles, carefully, and for the love of God, do not use your flame." Johnny saluted with seriousness he absolutely did not deserve. "Ma'am, yes ma'am." For over 20 minutes of chaos, everything was ready. Time skip, Madison approaches the apartment. Madison walked down the hallway with Reed, her heart racing in her chest. She could already feel Johnny's aura, warm, bright, buzzing with excitement and nerves. She stopped outside the door. Reed put a hand on her shoulder. "Ready." Madison inhaled deeply. "Yeah." Reed opened the door for her and immediately excused himself. "Have a good night. Please don't let Johnny burn anything." He vanished down the hall. Madison stepped inside. Time skip, Madison walks in. Johnny stood in the middle of the room, hands clasped. Hair perfect, eyes wide and hopeful like a puppy who practiced waiting all day. When Madison entered, he froze, she froze. Madison's eyes took in everything. The candles, the soft yellow lighting, the vase of flowers, the smell of real, delicious food, and Johnny Storm looking like he'd been sweating bullets but trying so hard to seem calm. Madison's voice was soft, stunned. "Johnny, you did all this." Johnny panicked immediately. "Oh God, do you hate it? Is it too much, too little? Should I add more candles? Fewer candles? Are the flowers wrong? Is the sauce burning? Shit, Susan. I mean, not Susan, everything's fine." Madison stepped forward quickly, cupping his cheeks gently. "Johnny, breathe." Johnny inhaled sharply, a wheezy, panicked sound, and Madison laughed softly before pulling him into a hug. Her voice was warm against his shoulder. "I love it." Johnny froze. You do." Madison leaned back enough to meet his eyes, smiling softly. "I love you trying to do this, for me." Johnny blinked rapidly. "You love me trying, or you love?" Madison pressed a finger to his lips. "One thing at a time, hot shot." Johnny flushed bright red, but he grinned. Time skip, Johnny's surprise dinner. Johnny led her to the table shyly. "I cooked," he whispered. Actually cooked. Susan helped so I didn't create a fireball or 5. Madison laughed. "I'm proud of you." Johnny rubbed the back of his neck, sheepish. "I just wanted tonight to be good." Madison reached for his hand. "It is." Johnny swallowed, his heart doing cartwheels. "Okay," he whispered, smiling softly. "Then, let's eat, before something explodes." Madison laughed. "Absolutely." They sat, candle flickering, music playing softly, both of them smiling more than they had in ages. Johnny stared at Madison as she talks with love in his eyes, Then he hesitates before grabbing her hand. Madison stops talking as she looks at him. Johnny smiled. I love you. Madison blushed before she smiled back. I love you too, hotshot.